one of my new favorite people, country artist Shaylen.
Hello.
There are so many layers to you.
Oh my God. Guy must really be crazy. Even in the womb, I think my mom was like, this one's a wild one.
Trauma and pain.
A lot of that.
Yeah.
I know I'm not that big, but like when I would see the episodes back, I would just cry. Like, I got a booty now and I like her. Yeah. My whole life has just been living in like an uncomfortable state. I think that's how you have to evolve as a person. You know, if you're not uncomfortable, you're not changing.
That's so true.
You know?
Yes.
Which
yeah.
I hate it, but I love it.
Mm-hmm.
I do.
Welcome to this episode of Rooted Recovery Stories. I'm Patrick Custer, your host, and we are here talking with one of my new favorite people, a ray of sunshine, one of the biggest energies, like I love so much, country artist Shaylen.
Hello. Hi. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm excited too.
It's going to be great.
I have to say, we've already
We've dug in.
And I'm like, dang, the camera should have been rolling.
I know.
But we have so much more to dig into.
Yes.
And there are so many layers to you.
Oh, there are. It's like a little onion. It's like you just keep peeling them back.
Normally, I'm like, okay, buckle up because I'm in the driver's seat and we're going to go one by one.
Yeah.
But I kind of want to ask you, where did your story start?
Oh man. I mean, it really, like, even in the womb, I think my mom was like, this one's a wild one. When I was probably super, super little, I had no interest in walking, no interest in doing anything. I would just sit there and talk and sing and eat cookies. Like, I loved cookies. But my parents really thought something was wrong because I wouldn't walk. Like, they were just like, there's something wrong with her. But I was just so content just sitting there like humming. And I then, like, when I got older, I started to go to church. I was so enthralled in choir. I loved all of it. And I was like, I want to sing. Like, I want a chance to sing at the offering or something. So I'll never forget, Miss June Frank gave me my first solo during offering. It was Bringing in the Sheaves. And I sang, and it was terrifying. I was probably horrible. But I just remember for that, like, couple minutes of looking at everybody and, like, seeing their faces, whether I was good or bad. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, this is the only place in my life so far that I've experienced that makes the most sense. And I want to, like, instead of like talking, which now I love to talk to people, but it was like my form of connecting with people that I think God at that point was like, this is your purpose. And I was so blessed to have that so early because I feel like I ignored it for a long time and I was still searching for like a purpose. But then every time I get on a stage singing, I was just like, oh, that's it. Like, that's what I'm supposed to do. I just don't know what that looks like. I think I was I remember even my dad one time, like, I went to him in fact, we just talked about this on the phone the other night because his dog passed away. And when I was 6, I told him, like, because my dog had passed away, and I was like, I think it's just God's way of giving us like a preparation for when we lose humans. Like, and I was so emotionally in tune with things. So I remember like things that I would watch, or like even personal things of like, I want to do this. I want to be a veterinarian. And then I realized that dogs die, and I'm like, I don't want to be a veterinarian. So I would, as far as like just questioning things, or like, I remember like, I want to be a firefighter. I want to be this. And then at 7 on stage, I was like, no, I want to sing. I want to 100% sing. Like, that's what clicked for me. As far as, cause I said I wanted to sing. I said I wanted to be a veterinarian. I said all these things, but then when I actually stood on stage, I was like, oh, that makes sense. I think that makes sense for me is on stage at 7, that was God being like, this is your purpose. And I didn't even know at 7 what that looked like, but it was like right here. And I was like, ooh, I like that feeling. Cause I feel like that feeling is going to help me help people in whatever. And like, whether that was record executive, whatever, but it was somewhere in music. So I then I dove in, had my mom take me to everything you possibly could, like guitar, piano. I was in like an after school thing called Septi and the Entertainment Group. I would do their master classes. I tried out for Star Search, like all of these different things. My mom was such a like believer in me. I also tried a few things on the side. Volleyball, never should touch one. It should be illegal. So we learned, and my parents are great as far as like, you're not really great at that. Let's try something new.
Yeah.
They were never like, oh, you're great. Like a delusional thing. My parents did not do that. So I was very thankful. And when I really knew, I was like, oh, I want to do this as a profession. I got into a pop group when I was super young. We started as a Christian pop group.
What's it called?
Savvy.
Okay.
I know.
Wait, what's the meaning behind the name?
You know what? To this, it's like you're just like the cool kids. You're fun. You're savvy.
Okay.
Like so, it was so funny because we would tour all these churches, and then like probably after I was like 14, we had a lady come in who created the Proud Family on Disney Channel.
Oh, yeah.
Love Doreen. But she met one of my group members and she was like, oh my gosh, I want to create a show around the 5 of you called the Wannabes Starring Savvy. So she wrote the pilot, came back. We shot the pilot in the Fellowship of the Woodlands, fully independent. And all of a sudden, like I went back to Dallas at that point because I grew up in Chattanooga, moved to Dallas when I was about 7. And I was in school, living a normal life, about to go into high school, and we get a call and they're like, the show got picked up. We're going to move to Michigan for a year because the tax incentive at the time was so great to film.
Wow.
And there was like a full on high school that was built brand new, but there was
Talk about a geographic change.
My first experience of winter. I don't want it. Nashville is enough, but like Michigan, that's a different winter.
A different
winter.
I've only heard it described. I can't imagine.
I remember at 5 a.m. I was like walking out for the pickup call to go film. And I did, first of all, it was like probably negative couple degrees. And I like didn't see like a patch of black ice. And I just got the new iPhone and I fell on my back, shattered the iPhone in my pocket. That was a different
core
time.
trauma first, maybe.
Oh my God. First core trauma.
Yeah.
So yeah, we filmed for a year. Then it got picked up by Stars Kids and Family here. And then it was super big overseas. So we did like a South America tour, came back and this time I'm like homeschooling all through high school. So weird. Life
It is
did an
weird.
entire...
I was a K through 12 homeschooler, but I was probably a lot weirder than you.
I'm done. I think I was blessed to have like a dose of like real school and then homeschool.
Yeah.
But it was interesting because it was just like in a blink of an eye, my life changed. We come back. All of a sudden, we get an offer from Young Money, Cash Money at the time. What? That was Birdman, Slim, Wayne, Drake, all of them. It was our first record deal. I was turning 17 and we sign, we go out to LA, then they fly us to Paris to work with Red One. Like we're doing this whole album. Everything's going amazing, about to do the 3rd season and we get shelved. And in the music industry, shelved is maybe one of the worst things that can happen.
So how is that communicated to you? Like I want to take me through
What? It wasn't. It was like we had this single ready to go. We had all these things and then the budget ran out. And it was because we were like almost an experiment for their first pop side of things because they were so successful at hip hop. So they spent an absurd amount of money on the front end and then on the back end to promote the songs, to go to radio. It was all gone. So all of a sudden it was like we didn't hear from them. The single was supposed to come out, paused, the video was shot, nothing. And so all of a sudden my group and I were like, well, and we were traveling from Texas to LA at this point. And I was like 17 turning 18 and I was like, we got to go out to LA. We got to get there. And they were like, okay. So I pack up my bags. I have no money to my name. I get out there. I'm living in 230 square foot for $1,000 a month. I had no kitchen, no nothing, no parking spot even. I get a job.
That sucks in LA. I've never lived there. I've only visited, and I can only imagine.
Let me tell you, the parking spot.
I went out there for 4 days, and I'm like, ugh!
Get me out of here.
Yeah.
I don't know how I did 10 years there.
But not having a parking spot where you're living going to lay in your head every night.
Truly hell. It was hell. So I just remember being out there. I was like, I must really be crazy because even my parents were like, are you
tenacious?
Tenacious.
I would like to say
spunky.
Yes.
Resilient.
Yes.
And so we're out there. They are probably there for like 6 months. We're like making videos at the time. Social media started to become more and more of a thing. YouTube, all the things. And my group was like, Shay, like I think we've done 10 years together. I think this is not changing. Like they're not answering the calls. I think we're shelved. And I was like, okay, like what? Okay, what's next? Let's go get another deal. They're like, I think we want to go back home. And I was like, what? So these are my best friends, like, and I couldn't comprehend like taking music and putting it to the side and going to do like a normal life. Like that wasn't an option for me. So they went back home. They live beautiful lives. They have families, love them. I stayed, I had to sit in that label for a couple more years. So no one would work with me at that point because I was affiliated with that label. That label at the time was going through a lot of turmoil, and I had to figure out, I like sat down and was like, I need to figure out how to write a song by myself. Because I dabbled, but like we were so fortunate to get demos from like the biggest writers at the time.
Yeah.
So I worked like 5 jobs. I worked at Buffalo Wild Wings. I was running people's social media, which I had no business doing because I did not know, but I just finagled my way into it. And I messaged every SoundCloud DJ and was just like, send me a track. A lot of the times, most of them blocked me because I was so annoying. And then finally I had a few. I wrote to the tracks, put my first like feature out in the EDM world, thought I wanted to be an EDM artist. That was short-lived, but it did help me learn how to write a song. I then started to write my way into my first publishing deal.
I have to interject.
Yes.
I feel like you could sing one banger of a dance track. Like
I will say I put it down on a dance track. There's a lot of vocals out there for me on dance tracks. Like you can find them.
I love it.
Yeah, and I was a big rave girl. We went through a rave period. It was interesting.
I love that journey.
You know. So that was an interesting journey.
Yeah.
But it did lead me into writing a song. I got my publishing deal and then was just writing all the time. Flew to Korea. I write a lot for K-pop artists, which was a wild journey. And then in 2018, landed my second record deal with Universal Republic as a pop artist. And everything was great. I thought I was happy, but I was still chasing it. And I was like, all of the singles like were just right there, but like never did anything like groundbreaking. 2020 happens, was about to go on tour, have a radio single. Things are finally there, and COVID happens. And COVID at the time was what I thought was the worst thing, ended up being the best thing to ever happen to me. I got to take a break. I did not write one song that entire year. Wow. I took a break. I got into a relationship and stepped back and was like, who am I outside of music? I don't really have an identity. Like, what do I like to do? What are my hobbies? So I really dove into that. And then I realized I wasn't even happy doing it anymore. Like it became, whether it was like the social media, the character thing, and it becoming less and less about the music, the songs I were making felt like they were in such a confined box that I wanted to sing big vocals. And then I was told like, nobody cares about big vocals anymore. Like you need to be cool concepts, really edgy. I wore no clothes. My mother and I were constantly fighting with each other.
I have to add right there. Yeah. That drives me crazy because I love big vocals. And
I love them.
It drives me nuts.
That's the only thing I know how to do.
All these great singers that can blow it out in chest voice.
They take it small. Because it's trying to fit into...
Who put you in a box?
Who put you there? And most of the time, it is like and I get it, listen, not every song needs a big vocal. Right. I totally get that. And I learned, which I think the beauty of learning how to write smaller helps me now, later on in life. Because if I had the opportunity, I'd sing every vocal like, ah!
Right.
And I understand that the average person wants to digest maybe a chiller song or like... So I've learned how to do it all, which I was very thankful for. But as far as like the songs I wanted to sing, that wasn't what I wanted to sing anymore. Yeah. And I had a group of people around me that we'll just say weren't the best. And it came to the point of changing my hair so much, wearing no clothes, thinking about going to get like cosmetic surgery done so that my body would look different in order for my music to work. And I realized at that moment, I was sitting in a consultation in a plastic surgeon's office, and I got up and left. And I was like, what am I doing? What am I doing?
Was this like overt suggestion for you, or was it? Wow.
Yeah. Not by the label, But it was, Universal was great.
Yeah.
I have nothing but like, they're some of the best people I've ever worked with. Were so supportive.
But I get there's like, it's not just the label. That
There's
you've got
so
a
many
whole
moving
machine of
parts.
people that are behind putting you as an artist
There's
together.
a lot of moving parts.
Yes.
So yeah, it was suggested. And I was sitting there and I was like, what am I doing? Like, and why am I dressed like this? And like, it was always like, let's dye your hair this color. Like, you look too Southern, you look this. And I like, at the time I was like, yeah. And like, my mom would call me, like I would have the F word in every one of my songs. And I was like becoming this person that I was so far removed from who I was. Cause I was so just like, I was so willing to do anything to make it work that I was like, I have to do this. I have to do that. And it came to 2020, like taking a step back from that and realizing like, I am a Southern girl and I like to just, I love Southern hospitality. I love just like that's just who I am. Like, and even at that time I dyed my hair brunette and I hated it. I absolutely hated it because I'm naturally brunette, but I hated it. And I was like, I am a blonde and I love to be just like spunky. So at the time, so 2021 happens. I crossed paths with my now manager, who's a wonderful person. But he was like, all of your melodies you're putting in your songs are country. And he was like, you're just fitting them into like pop lyrics. He's like, you should really think about coming out with me to Nashville and doing a writing trip. And I was like, okay. So my current team was like, she can go out, but her artist career is done. Like she's just going to write for people. She's a better writer. No one knows what to do with her. So she'll go out there and write for other people. Stop focusing on the artist thing. And he was like, I think you guys are making a mistake, but okay. If somebody walked up to me now and was like, we don't know what to do with you, I'd be like, that's great. Because now I know that I don't need to be with you. And like, I now know for me is like, even I have had meetings now where it's like, I can't name names. I'm like, I'll just say that I've had meetings now where even I felt like it was like, I didn't beg to be in the meeting. You asked me, but you're making me feel like I'm not there yet or anything. And I'm just like, cool, well then you're not my person now. Like, I think even I've gotten better with this in relationships, even like in dating, of just the second I'm like, what is this? Like, if I can't ask you that and we can't talk about it, and if you hit me back with it's just not the right time, I'd be like, absolutely. Even just like my relationship that ended, now looking back on it, I wish that when he was like, you need to get sober and do this on your own and we can get back together afterwards. I should have, the second he said that, I'd have been like, you don't fit in my life. You don't fit in the puzzle piece. So that's fine. Not everything is supposed to fit.
Yeah.
So I think if somebody said that to me now, I'd be like, cool. I'm like, I don't need you to tell me if I work or if I don't.
This podcast is brought to you by Promises Behavioral Health. If you or a loved one are struggling with trauma, addiction, or mental health, we are ready to answer your questions and help you take that next step. Call our admissions center at 888-648-4098 or visit us online at www.promises.com. Our team is ready and waiting to answer the call for help.
I come out here, I pitch a few songs, and this guy, Ilya Tashinsky, hears the songs, and I'm like, so what artist should we make these for? And he's like, you're nuts. He was like, you gotta sing these. And I was like, but I can't, like, I'm not allowed to. So he was like, how about we do this? I'll open up my Rolodex, set you up a week of writing with people here, and see what you do and see if you perform. I was like, okay. So I come out 9 a.m. with Seth Ennis, Phil Barton, and Lindsay Rhymes, which I have never done a 9 a.m. session in my life. LA, you start at like 3 or 4. And
that's early to be creative.
It's so
period.
early. And I just landed from LA at like midnight. So I was like, I don't know how I'm going to write a song right now. But I was going through such a dark time, and I was getting out of the relationship with the guy I thought I was marrying. And I get in the room and we make this song called What If I Don't? And it was my first song ever here. And I remember leaving the session that day, I sobbed my eyes out in the Uber because I was so happy again. Like, I was like, I got to just sing the way I wanted to sing. I got to write something that I wanted to write. And I had in the back of my head that was like, oh my God, but I have to give these songs away.
Yeah.
And I was like, there was just this little voice. And I was just like, no, you gotta put this out. And to me, that seemed absurd because that means asking my label to completely switch genres, to like in a market that I don't even know like how to get into it. I don't know what, like I grew up learning how to sing on country music, but to me that looked wild as far as like in my brain, it was only pop music. That was the only way it could work. Nashville wasn't even an option. So I went back after that week. I wrote some of the best music of my life. And I went to my management, was like, I'm switching. And they were just like, no, you're going to pitch the songs. I was like, no, I'm switching. And so we went to the label. We asked them to partner. They were like, yo, we wouldn't know a country song if it hit us upside the head. So we'll let you walk, which was a blessing because they didn't have to do that. So they let me walk, and a couple months later, like I truly did not feel aligned with the team that I was with. And I then built up a courage after 10 years to ask like, hey, let's part ways. We parted ways. I teamed up with my current management, put out What If I Don't last year, independently, and it changed my life within 6 months.
Heck yeah.
Like,
it recently hit, what was it?
Hot Country.
Yeah, no, but the millions.
Oh, 22 million.
Yeah.
Just on Spotify. And I was like, like I've never had a song maybe do over 1 million. Maybe. And that's probably all my mom listening 1 million times. Like I swear to God, my mom like is majority of my plays.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So then I moved out here last August, and it's just been it was the scariest choice of my life. Cause I was just like, you gotta take the leap. I didn't know anybody out here. I didn't know what I was doing. And I know that like making the switch, like in my mind, I felt like I was disappointed because I was like, oh, it didn't work in pop. Like, or, oh, I'm not gonna be welcome in this because I'm just like making a transition. And it's like, is she doing this just because? Right. A lot of people don't know I'm from Chattanooga. A lot of people don't know that I started doing country music when I was little. So like to me, it was just going back to what I knew. But from the outside point of view, I got like a lot of hate for it for a second, and I was nervous about it. And then I think after releasing a bunch of songs, people were like, "Oh, okay, we get it." So it's been a wild journey.
Yeah, it sounds like it. So I love that, to kind of bring things 360. One of my favorite songs that you wrote, oh my God, called Roots. Because the show is called Rooted Recovery Stories. And, you know, there's a theme there, you know, like we all are truly recovering, hopefully, from something.
Oh, yes.
And I'm just going to read the lyrics because if you haven't heard it, first of all, you need to listen to it. But I love these lyrics here. My heart and my hair are both damaged, so I'll let them grow. Ain't scared of the fact that my true color is starting to show. Landed a thing with a man I know I loved. Because drinking and him were two things I had to give up.
Yep.
And the story behind that. I mean, like because you go on to talk about going back to your roots and what, like everything from the songwriting, the country, all of that, finding yourself again. Yeah. What made that possible for you?
My number one thing would have to be God.
Yeah.
Like I really took the ego out of all of it for once in my entire life, because I was so driven by ego, as any artist usually is.
Sure.
And because I was at the point where like last summer I was giving it up. Like that was after almost 17 years of my life. I was like, it's time to give it up. And I just remember like when I did come out here, and what seemed freaking impossible to move here, to find the money to move here, to find people to believe in me, to come in with nothing behind me. Like, and I just remember like I said, this little voice in my head and sitting there and praying about it. And I was just like, this seems impossible, but it doesn't seem that impossible. So then when I wrote the songs and found that courage in me to just do it, I was like, okay, like anybody can do anything. Yeah. You really can. I think we like forget that part of things because we get so comfortable. Or there's like a level of fear that goes with that.
Preach.
You know?
Yes.
But my whole life has just been living in like an uncomfortable state. I think that's how you have to evolve as a person. You know, If you're not uncomfortable, you're not changing.
That's so true.
You know,
yes,
which I hate it, but I love it. I do.
Yeah. Well, and if we can remind ourselves of that, it makes it.
Oh God,
so
even in
more
breakups, I'm like, you got to be uncomfortable. It sucks. But now looking back a year later, I'm like, girl, you were tripping for far too long.
Yes. Well, and I think in our society, there's so much of how we reinforce this theme of like instant gratification. We need to not feel bad. Like, you know, I think there's this theme of like self-care so you don't have to feel bad.
Yeah.
Because feeling bad is bad.
And self-care is sometimes feeling bad.
Right.
Letting yourself feel bad.
Exactly. If we take that 30,000 foot view, it's like, wait, no, part of the human experience is learning to ride the wave. Like there are waves.
There's
Stop
so many.
fighting.
So many.
The feelings are what we're supposed to be feeling.
Yeah. Feeling is healing.
Yes.
You know?
Talking about feeling. Okay. So we all have a story
Yes. Oh, we all do.
through some of the failures, fears, successes that we've talked about with you comes trauma and pain.
A lot of that.
Yeah.
Some of my biggest breaks in life weren't achieving anything. It was removing myself from things that I thought I had to stay in.
Ooh.
As far as leaving LA, thinking that was a disappointment, but really it was like the best thing to happen. COVID was like, it's not a record deal, but it was like, it gave me the opportunity to step back and realize that I needed to do this for myself, that I needed to isolate myself and dig into like who I was outside of music. I think a big break was moving to Nashville, not knowing anybody and having to be uncomfortable. And then also a big break was, what if I don't all of a sudden working? And like, I think it looks like different definitions. I don't think it always has to be an achievement.
Right.
I think sometimes it can be taking yourself out of a scenario that you thought you were too scared.
It's one hell of a perspective because you're redefining
Yeah.
right? Like it takes a lot to have that healthy of a perspective to say, a big break isn't just it's not just the high highs.
It's not the
right?
high highs. In fact, I feel like, I mean, yes, my record deals, all of these things were amazing, but I find the big breaks that were like what I thought were actually awful were I think those are even cooler. Like, I'm like, a record deal, yeah, love it, it's fire. But I'm just like, to have the guts to like pack up my bags after 10 years and just leave.
Well, yeah. And you're talking about deep, meaningful transformation that was followed by action in every single one of these scenarios.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I know people who spend tens of thousands of dollars to try and achieve something like that, to try and find meaning that gives them that much shift.
Yeah. And you can't even pay for it.
No,
you can't.
You can try.
You can try.
Yeah.
And a lot of these come from therapy that I pay for that are like an internal thing. But I will say, as far as like life and like what you think is like the riches and the fame and the wealth is really like when you take that next step to go internally and like just chip off one more thing about self-work. I think that's the coolest.
I want to go down memory lane with you a little bit about some of that stuff.
Yep.
What happened and how you've healed from it.
So there's a lot.
Yeah.
There's a lot. I mean, one of the earliest memories that I can think of is obviously developing an eating disorder super young.
How old?
I was probably 16 at the time.
Yeah.
And we were filming the show. I developed a thyroid issue that I didn't know I had because I was so young, which thyroid is very common, but I got the one where you gain weight and you get tired. And I had put on a significant amount of weight in the middle of filming. So on camera, anything looks way bigger than just now looking back, like I also was just like going through like my baby phase and like you thin out later on. But on camera, it didn't read that way. So I had gained some weight and there was a person involved that just basically brought it so much to attention that we would have to, they would put me in like clothes that were way bigger looking. Like I was like, I know I'm not that big, but like on when I would see the episodes back, I would just cry. And she would sit there and she would look at what I was eating. She's like, you sure you want to eat that? And I'm sitting there like, I'm a teenager. I usually eat what I want to eat. Or like I would work out so crazy, or like they would be like, did you work out today? And then it got to the point of like having to weigh in at fittings. And I thought that was normal. And
like you'd come in and they'd be like, all right, girl, I'd
have to get on a scale.
time to weigh.
Yeah. And
wow.
yeah, it was not great. And I won't dive too much into it because I understand that there might have been a place of love there, or something that was going on with them that maybe they were trying to help me. I don't know.
Yeah.
It was just a very bad way to do it for a young girl.
Yeah.
So I started to see myself like, I just couldn't get the image out of my head of like how my body looked at that point in my life. So now still to this day, I'm dealing with that years and years later, but I would go to the bathroom after I would eat, I would throw up, I would stop. I would just like pretend I ate and I didn't. And my mom even was like, what's going on?
When that switched for you and you started acting out in those behaviors, was it like a overnight? Like,
Oh God. Because I remember that, because no one had ever, like, my mom was always so awesome with like, never once did I ever grow up like focused on what my body looked like. And that was not a driving thing for me. Like she would like, you're beautiful just the way you are. It's like, what's in here? So when that, I had never been focused or like led with, I have to look like this. Like that wasn't even a thought in my brain. So to switch and then be so hyper focused on it, I didn't realize how detrimental it was at the time. And I was trying to like, I didn't even say that it was an eating disorder because I was like, no, like I know that people like, there are way worse cases of like eating disorders. And like,
that's why I wouldn't call myself an alcoholic too, because I wasn't the guy under the bridge.
But it like, there is a word for it.
Yep.
And you're just kind of like, there's a few of those words in my life that even like in therapy, like he's like, you just got to say the word. And I'm like, but I don't see it like that because it's not as bad as some things. And that, I think that's been kind of my whole life so that I could just keep going and survive or like not be crippled by it. But it was definitely an eating disorder that I was like,
well, the denial, like I love it because I can relate so heavily. The denial, like as you're describing the logic and rationale of the person you were in that point, like, so you wouldn't be crippled by it.
Yes.
So you thought in that moment, it's controlling the hell out of you.
Yeah. Yeah. It literally, and to this day, even like I'll find myself or I have a splurge meal and it'll be literally the entire thought for the day of like, oh my God, you ate that and you didn't go to the gym today.
Yeah.
Oh my God, you did. And like, it's gotten better, but there were like, I still to this day, and like even my sister sometimes, like she's like, you don't know how bad you're talking about yourself. She's like, you could be in a photo and like, instead of seeing a beautiful person, you're just like, oh, I look old today. I look this. And she's like, just stop. She's like, how exhausting is that? Because it's exhausting. I even like my boyfriend is always like, you are so mean to yourself. And I was like, I don't even realize I'm doing it because I think I do it, like in case I think anybody else is thinking it, I just say it before they can think it.
Yeah.
And I just
that inner saboteur
it's
is like,
weird.
yes.
And I don't even know I'm doing it until like I think about the day and how many times I've said it. I'm like, that's sad. That's really sad.
So what did you do to, because clearly you've experienced some healing since then.
Yeah. That one's a tough one. It is a forever battle as far as like, I still eat my meals. I still like, now I found a healthy way to work out rather than making it an obsession to where it's not healthy. Because I would like, it would be the entire thought of my day of like, did I eat this amount of calorie? Did I do this? To where I couldn't even function properly. Like I'd be sitting there and I couldn't even think about other things. So I definitely am in therapy for it, along with 10,000 other things, aren't we all?
Yeah.
But I try to practice. The one thing that I have done over this last 2 years, and it is so uncomfortable, but I will stand in front of the mirror, no clothes on, for 5 minutes. And I will just look at myself. The first time I ever did it, I just sobbed. I just sobbed over and over and over. I looked at like every little thing that was wrong with me. And then now I've gotten to the point where like, if I'm bloated one day, if I'm this, I'm just like, that's your body. She's getting you from point A to point B. And you're not sick. You could have like something so much worse going on. Your brain works. You're able to perform your job and you're bloated today. Cool. Like you're a female. Yeah. You're like females, like we are, and like the like estrogen and all these things are like, you could have had not enough water or too much water, or like it's your body. And it's like, you have to love it for exactly where it is at that day. And it is so much easier said than done.
Right.
So much easier said than done. But that's something that I remember like hearing a podcast of somebody doing that. And I was like, I'm going to try that. And I was like, oh, I hate it. Like, I hate it. I couldn't even I remember 3 days I was like, no, I'm not doing it today. I hated that. And then I finally got the courage to do it again. And now I stand there and I'm like, cool, this is where you're at today. And then there's some days I'm like, you look good today. You look great.
I also love that you don't put yourself in parameters of this is what you have to do when doing that.
No, because I think everybody has a different way of having to go through that. I think most females in this era of life, especially with social media, you are absolutely triggered or have some form of body dysmorphia. You have at one point gone through an eating thing. Everyone has it. It's crazy if you, it's not crazy, but I'm saying it is to see bodies that are edited online every day and thinking and even seeing the body positive ones, you're still oh, I don't feel good. And I think every male, every female, they deal with it. And it's just I don't think you just have to see it as a thing of life now. And you have to what can I do to feel better? Most of the time I mute I just follow really healthy eating pages that are something that I would like to eat without starving myself. I follow good workouts that work for me. Cause I'm not a big Pilates girl, but Pilates kills it for some people. They love Pilates. I love my F45.
What's F45?
Oh my God, I love it. It's basically more muscle training than anything.
Ooh.
Which I was I
love that.
Cardio is everything. Cardio makes you lose weight. And in reality, cardio wasn't working for me because I used to do Orange Theory, which I also love, but it was so heavy cardio that I always thought if you build muscle, you're going to look bulky. No, I was I got a booty now and I like her. Yeah. So I've just learned what works for me.
Yeah.
And those are I follow some people, but maybe I have to mute them for that week because it's I can't see you in a swimsuit today.
Yeah.
I'm you look hot, but for me, I can't. So I just try to find boundaries.
That active insight and conversation with yourself about what regularly saying this is good for me today, this is not good for me today, because it changes.
It does.
I wake up every day and, I mean, just you put on an outfit and you're this looked good on me yesterday, and
but
today
it doesn't
I feel
today.
500 pounds.
Oh my God.
And
I mean, it's forever changing, but that's being human. I think being human, you just realize today I woke up and or there's days that I wake up and I'm you don't feel great today. Cool. Yep. Ride it, but don't live in it.
Yeah.
And I also have a journal where I write 5 things down that I'm super grateful for. 5 things that maybe I could have done differently. And then at the end of the day, in fact, one of my friends, Katie, recently was try your gratitude also at the end of the day. And I was that's really smart. I always do it when I wake up. But I sit there, I scroll through my just little having coffee with my friend or something so little, but you sit there and you're oh wow, it was a good day.
Yeah.
Even though it didn't feel great, it was a good day. You know?
Do you remember your gratitude from yesterday?
My gratitude from yesterday was I got to go to a Halloween party.
Nice. Wait, what was your costume?
I waited till such last minute. I'm appalled with myself. I went as a cat.
Nice.
The most basic thing in the book.
All I could think about is, it was Mean Girls. Was it a cat? Or no, she was a mouse.
She was a mouse.
Well, I was close.
You
cat
know what?
Mouse.
I might as well have. My tail that I got, it was limp. It was not good. It was not good. And then the fishnets I thought were full fishnets only came up to here. So my whole butt was hanging out. So I had to wear a different skirt. It was a whole fiasco. But I was excited because I love Halloween.
Yeah. So you had fun, and that's the point.
I did.
Yes.
And I had a macaroni bite, which I love. So I had one of those and I was grateful for it. I wrote a really good song that day. And I got to work out. I got to wake up and do my workout. And then what else happened yesterday? And I had a great call with my manager.
Nice.
Yeah. Just little things. Had a great call with my mom. And and then I thought, I have a mom. I have a dad.
Yes.
That's cool.
I'm so grateful for when you still have a parent.
Oh my God.
That you get to call. And
oh my God.
relationship.
I'm so thankful for that because and Peggy Sue is, I love her.
Do they still live in Chattanooga?
My mom lives in Dallas. Dad is in Houston. One of my brothers is in Chattanooga.
Okay.
Yep. And I'm grateful for him because he's watching my dog while I go to LA next week.
Nice.
So that saves me from a very extreme babysitting bill. So it's that's another thing I'm grateful for.
Pet babysitters and kenneling here in Nashville. It's probably everywhere, but it ain't cheap here.
I mean, I was doing even to just do a side hustle for a second, I was doing Rover and I would I would watch people's dogs and I was making so much money from it. And I was wow,
I bet.
Because I'm one of those people, I will pay you every penny in my bank account to watch my child. I have him tattooed on me.
Okay. Speaking of, you got tattoos.
I do.
I love asking people. I just got my first tattoo.
What'd you get?
It's so simple. As I told you, I'm in recovery.
Okay.
So it's on my calf. It's a triangle, which is the symbol for recovery.
That is the symbol.
You know?
Yeah.
So I'm basic in a lot of ways.
No,
and
you're
super
not.
extra
No,
in a lot of other ways.
I'm so extra and basic. I was a cat.
Yeah.
Here we are.
Okay, so now I'm like, I don't know. I didn't usually care before, but now I'm
No, when you're in the
asking
tattoo
people,
gang,
I want to know everything about. All right, so tell the tattoos that you want to share about. Tell me about them.
So obviously my dog is like my favorite.
Yep.
My hummingbird that I recently got is a big symbol for me because whether I'm crazy or not, I in monumental moments of my life that like if I need a sign that I'm on the right path, I swear to you, every time a hummingbird pops up. And you could call me cuckoo for that, but even with the day I was leaving LA, like I was telling the movers, like when they walked in, I was sobbing, like to the point of like it was a very ugly cry. And he's like, do you need a minute? I was like, no, it's fine. Like after 10 years, I was like, I felt like I failed. I was like, is this absurd that I'm packing up and moving like at the midst of like the end of my 20s? And like, I was like, and I'm restarting somewhere and restarting my career and rebranding. I was like, is this actually nuts? Mm-hmm. And then I look up, the crazy thing about hummingbirds are that they remember everywhere in their lifetime where they've eaten. And they always, if they're about to starve, they know exactly where to go back to. Wild.
What?
Wild. Crazy.
I can't remember what I had for breakfast.
I can't either. I can't even know. The only thing I remember yesterday is a mac and cheese bite.
Right.
Like that's the only food I remember. So they remember so that they can survive.
Wow.
There in LA in North Hollywood, I had a balcony. I was the first person to ever live at this apartment because it was new. And I had nothing on my balcony, no food, no nothing. And I look up and there's a hummingbird just sitting there. So there's no reason why they would have even been there. I'd never seen a hummingbird in my life on that balcony. And I lived there for a year. And I just look up in the midst of like questioning everything and there's a hummingbird. I was like, well, shit. So the hummingbird's a big one for me. And then this one is very big for me because it says temporary feelings, which is to remind you that everything is temporary. Because I hit a very, very low point in 2019 where, in the easiest way to say it, I don't know if I would have been here anymore because I had hit rock bottom so hard that I was like, maybe people are better off without me in their life. And that's where I got to.
Wow.
And crazy scenario happened before that situation. And I just remember sitting there. It was weird. That's why the dog is also tatted on my arm, is because I won't get into it too much, but there wasn't a reason why he should have showed up in the bathroom. There was just not. And like I said, call me crazy, call me cuckoo, but then I look up and the dog is sitting there and I'm like, that's weird. That's because like I don't really, and like I've had the dog for 12 years and like we have lived out of a car together. We have done like, this guy is my ride or die. And I just remember I was like, well, if there was a reason to stay, I'm gonna guess that you need fed, and I don't want to leave you alone. And I think you might be really sad. Not to mention, my mom and dad would kill me. And I took a second, and I just remember I was like, my God, all of this is temporary. I'm not gonna feel like this forever. I think as humans, we forget that we're not gonna feel like this for forever.
Yeah.
And it is the
good and the bad.
Oh my God. I mean, I wish I could in fact, I've gotten much better now about, even if it's writing down like an incredible day or I do these little video diaries for myself, but I'm like, this was awesome today. And sometimes I go back and revisit those videos to remind myself, like, you're in a down right now, but you're going to have another great run. You know,
I love that.
Yeah, I do.
I've never heard anybody say that they do that.
I do. Like, especially like I'll be in hotel rooms by myself, and I will like, after a show, I'm like, oh my God, this person said this today about my song, or like I got to feel like invincible on stage. And I just have to go back and rewatch those when I think that my career is ending and no one likes my music anymore. I'm just like, wait, that was really cool, and it'll happen again.
Does one stick out to you that you've done that really made a huge impact when you went back and watched it?
You know what? There is one. I was just in Kentucky because last week I was feeling like the world was ending. I truly life was having its way with me that week. And I also felt like it's really rough because music is amazing and the career path is amazing, but the highs are so high that the normals feel very low, which they're not a low. It's just you're living in the normal, which I have to remind myself. And I think that's any career or life thing. It's like, it's not a low. There are lows, but we talked about this. Like, I'm so extreme that if it's not always high, then I feel like it's going to end tomorrow or it's taken away from me tomorrow. And I remember going back to watch this video of like this girl that had said at the Kentucky show, she'd walked up and she was, first of all, it's weird to me that I even go to a show now and anybody's singing What If I Don't with me, because I'm like, that's just weird, because I can't comprehend that people are like, even, it hasn't registered yet. So she like was in the front row because I was opening for somebody and she was screaming every lyric. She was crying and she like walks up to me and she's sobbing and she's like, I know you wrote it about a guy. And she was like, but my best friend, we had like an awful argument. We're not friends anymore. And like, What If I Don't is like my breakup song with her. And like, and her boyfriend's standing there and she's like, you've been my therapy and your song's been my therapy for the last couple months. And she's like, and I literally drove 2 hours to come see you. And I was like, what? Like, and then I had another person in that same show they came up and they were all like, they were crying, which was so weird to me. Cause I was just like, this is weird. Cause I was crying on stage performing it. Cause I typically, when I get to What If I Don't, I start crying. Cause I start to look at the audience and think like, I never thought I was gonna be able to do this again. Yeah. And they came up and they were like, you don't understand. My husband died and I felt like I was cheating on him if I ever moved on. So the what if I do, what if I don't? And I didn't even think of like how that would I was just like, I felt like I'd lost somebody, like a death in real life, but I wouldn't even ever think like that translate to actual like moving on and losing somebody, like actually losing somebody and like feeling like you're cheating on them. Like, and to me, so I remember making a video diary of those two things and I was like, wow, like even if all of this stopped tomorrow and I, like those two people, like that's how they felt out of like my diary, then my job here is done. You know?
Goals. When I think about like just like when you're a human being on this earth and you really have identified your passion, mission, and vision as a human. Yeah. When you get those God nuggets of like validation that you're doing what you're meant to do. It's that like and it brings me all the way back to that moment of doing that, my first solo at church, and remembering that feeling is the same feeling I feel 20 something years later. And it's a wild, like, I think like all humans, your purpose is to help each other. I think that's the only reason we're here. So I think like, love thy neighbor,
you know? And that's, I think you, especially being a music artist, because you become so egotistical, you become so narcissistic, like it just comes with the job. Like every day I'm like, I'm driven by ego, but then I take a step back and I'm like, this has nothing to do with me. Absolutely nothing to do with me. In fact, this isn't even my, like, somebody gave me this. This is not mine.
I feel like you've got there's a lot of tempering of, like, cause you talk about ego, anybody who sits in front of a camera or in front of a microphone ever.
The selfie generation has made us all egotistical.
But I think that you've got a lot of tempering of all that, a healthy dose of it. And a lot of like, I hear these like nuggets of wisdom that come out from you. I'm curious, in your career, what has been that just comes to mind to you right now, one of the best pieces of advice that someone has given you?
Oh God. Oh, this one's rough. Cause I've been given so many things. I mean, I think I'll touch back on the highs and lows are not being like, it's like the highest highs. My manager, in fact, I think it's his girlfriend that said it, that related to me, but it's like, we have to separate normal and low. because he was like, yes, there's highs, but when you go back to your normal life, you get off of a stage and you're doing sessions every day. That's not a low. It's just normal.
Yeah.
I think when you go on a vacation with your family, you're so high, and then it feels low when you come back, but you're just back to normal. Like,
That's right.
There are lows in life when you lose somebody, when something really bad happens, but it's like finding the balance of like low and normal. There's also, God, there's one that I cannot for the life of me think of it right now, but there's one that somebody said one time about getting up on a stage when just like, I know it sounds cliche, but leaving it all on the stage. And even if it's like one person that night that like you look in the eyes and you connect with them and you walk away, like at least it was just one. Like, it doesn't have to be hundreds.
Yeah.
But it's like, for that, just start with one. Start with one person that like, if one song doesn't do anything, like maybe one person heard it and it changed their life.
And like that's such good advice for even just like
everyday person.
Yeah. Because when I'm following my heart, my calling, whatever it is, being a good person, taking care of myself so that I can be a good person for others. If I can think about the one person that I may or may not have like affected positively that day.
Yeah.
Was it worth it?
Was it worth it? Did I smile at somebody and maybe they needed that?
Yeah.
Maybe. So yeah, I like
so good.
Just start with one.
Love that.
Yeah.
I love it so much.
Yeah.
I want to know who's your dream. Like, if you had to pick right now, who would you absolutely love to collaborate with on a song?
This one always gets me too, because I have like 10 of them. At this current situation.
Yeah, you're walking right down the street and you're going to go record right now. We're on Music Row, by the way, people, in Nashville.
mean, it's not crazy to walk by somebody. Oh Lord Jesus. This one is rough. I mean, if Adele or Shania Twain.
Absolutely. Adele, darling.
I would poop my pants.
She'd be like,
I'd poop my pants.
Yeah.
Or Aerosmith.
nice.
Yeah.
Those are very diverse.
Very diverse. Very diverse.
Love it.
Or Carrie Underwood.
Yeah.
I love Carrie.
Me too.
I want her legs.
She's got some.
I was at a show one time and like my legs are my biggest thing that I try to like build better. Somebody's like, you have Carrie's legs. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, I don't. But
I feel like
you.
every female is like, that's the Carrie legs.
Her legs.
Yeah.
Those are legs I've never seen.
Right.
They're just incredible legs.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Wait, am I going to say this or am I not going to say it? I know for a fact that she does get her legs spray tanned in a way that accentuates her
everybody
muscle
does.
lines.
I used to get my abs spray tanned.
Oh, okay.
Oh, 100%. That's like a thing.
See, I didn't know that was a thing.
Oh, I get my arm muscle. Like, you better believe a photo shoot. I'm like, these little things back here are starting to have their heyday. I'm like, what
Your
is
triceps?
This? Oh
Nice.
my God. No, not in a good way. I'm like starting to see when you don't work them out, what happens. I'm like, there's a little bat wing back there.
What is it? Oh, there's this Australian show that I love. They call them the Footabutas.
Footabutas?
Yeah, your Footabutas are...
That's what they're fadoobing today. Like, so I was like, why do you think I have long sleeves? I was like, what is this
Girl,
next level?
You look lovely.
Thank you.
And so we're going to be nice to your body.
We are. And
Yes.
see, that was the thing where I was like, when I woke up and I was like, we got these little things back there. But I was like, you know what? That's all right. If we take flight today with these things, flying high.
Where are we going?
Flying high.
Yeah.
Like,
There we
they're
go. I love that answer. Okay, so but on the topic of collaborating, you just did a collab with John
Austin Winkler. Yep.
Yes.
God, that's a story.
And it's also a song. For those of you who don't know, Lips of an Angel,
I mean,
is what it was a remake.
Yes.
And is that the word that you used?
Technically, yeah, because it's a remake of his original.
Okay, yeah. And it's beautiful. Love it.
you.
Yeah, I mean,
Thank
it's a great song. A lot of people are very attached to it. How many years ago did that come out?
18. God. Yeah, it made me feel really old. Really old.
So what's the story behind that happening?
That was crazy because last year around December, all of these people started, TikTok, the app is crazy. We don't know why certain songs resurge when they do, but they do. So a lot of people started to do these responses to the second verse on that song. And they would upload their thing and it would just be like the girl version, the guy version, and it became a trend for a second. And so it resurfaced and Austin saw it, his team saw it. And they're like, well, let's put it out again. He's no longer with Hinder. So he wrote the song with Brian Howes. So he was looking for, he got the idea then to be like, well, why not release the girl version with me on it? So my day-to-day knows Brian very well. And Brian was like, we're looking for a girl to demo the vocal because we want to do like maybe a Carrie Underwood, Gabby Barrett, somebody to feature with Austin. And it's such an iconic song that, of course, like that's not far out. So I was supposed to demo the vocal, and Austin flew in because he lives in Oklahoma, and we cut it at RCA, Iconic Studios. And he was like, I want you to stay on it. Like, I love your voice. And I was like, what? What do you mean? Like, this is my childhood. Like, what are you talking about? Like, I would be honored, but are you sure? Like, I literally was like, are you sure? So yeah, we cut it. We filmed the video for it. And then we put it out, which in my brain, I was, because it's his song and I was just so honored to be on it. I didn't register how cool that was up until like, even like shows, I was bringing him out for a few of my shows. And it's so funny because at first people are like, okay, they're doing a cover, and then they realize he's the singer and they lose it. Like, I'll never forget, like in Kentucky, I watched like when he first starts singing and somebody's like, oh my God, it's really him. Like, you just like don't even realize that it's him. And so that was really cool because a lot of people are like, oh, you guys are just doing a cover. And I'm like, kind of, yeah, but it's the original singer. And they're like, wait, what? So that was an epic moment for me to do the video, to reimagine it, and just get that opportunity was really, really dope.
Absolutely.
Really dope. And he is like, his story is nuts.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been sober 6 years now.
What?
Yeah.
I didn't know this.
Yeah. And I think I don't know.
I try and keep a database in my head of all of the...
His story was nuts. And he is just such a beautiful person because you think like the rock star, like the rough around the edges, and he's just such a kind human. And it was so funny because when I was initially sober for the first 6 months of this year, and like now I've healthily brought drinking back into my life. But he was like, you still sober, girl? And he was like, do you need help? Do you know, like, he was so nice about it. He's like, if you need anybody to call and talk to, like, I was just like, that's so nice of you. Yeah. Cause you didn't have to do that. Yeah. So yeah, he's great. I loved that. Yeah.
That is really awesome. Yeah. I did not know that about him.
Yeah.
I love finding out when
his story's nuts.
Yeah. You have to
have him on here. Yeah. He's incredible. Yes. And he's just so nice.
Most definitely. Oh my gosh, this has been everything I hoped. So fun, and so gosh, there's so much to you, and I know we've probably only gotten to like scratch the surface.
I won't scare people too much today.
Oh my gosh. Well, maybe we'll have a part 2 one day.
I love that.
But I do want to ask because, you know, with all of us, like we've all been through, like our lives are absolutely different. Every single one of us, our traumas are different. Yep. What we've been through, how we've been through what we've been through, even though it might, like you and I can relate on a lot of the things we struggled with. The ways we've healed and the decisions we've made along the way look different. And so I think one of the things about the power of why we do this, why we talk about, why I want to hear your story and want to use this platform to share it, is because that person out there, even if it's just the one, start with one, right? That has said, good God, I relate.
Yeah.
What encouragement would you like to leave with them today?
I think the one, and I'm always reminded on my hand of just like everything is temporary, and whatever you're going through at that point, whether it seems like there is literally no light at the end of the tunnel, like you have to know that I think as humans, it's just a programmed thing in our brain. We forget it. Like whether it's the breakup that you think you are never going to get over, whether it is losing somebody, whether you are financially just in, like, you just don't think that there's any way of coming out of it, whatever that looks like, it is temporary. It might suck for a second. But I think to just hold on to the feeling of just remembering that there will be another high. There will be another medium or normal. Like, but it's, if I could just, and I just always, in fact, there's more to the password, but almost all of my passwords for things are temporary feelings. There's more to those passwords, so don't try and hack anything. But no,
that's good because it's a constant reminder.
It's literally a constant reminder.
I love that. You put a lot of meaning into different things that I never thought about putting meaning into.
Because it's like an everyday thing of like, if I have to get into these apps every day. So then like, if I feel shitty about myself while scrolling, I'm like, it's temporary. And I was just reminded by logging in. It's just little nuggets everywhere. Like I try to like, because I didn't do that for 10 years of my life.
Yeah.
And I remember, I mean, I don't even know. And that's why I know that phrase for me is so important, is I don't know how I made it out of LA. I don't know. That story on a part 2 comes with much deeper things, much heavier things. And I think I was so far detached from myself that I didn't think like, how could anybody love me after burning this many bridges or doing like becoming this lame of a human? And in reality, it's just like somebody.
In reality, you were saying, I'm not worthy of loving myself.
100%. So I became a version that didn't expect that. And I think that a one other solid thing is like, there's versions to everybody. And you probably like, if people talk about me years later, that's like, she's awful. I'm like, yeah, that version was. But I love her now. She's part of who I became today. And you meet versions of people that, or like I try to give everybody 3 chances when I meet them. Like if I meet somebody and they're like kind of mean to me at first, I'm like, maybe their dog just died.
Yeah.
Maybe they're having a really bad day. So I give you till the 3rd chance. If you're still mean to me, I'm like, okay, that's a you thing. And like, I tried.
Right.
But I try to just like have compassion, because I think like everyone's going through something and everyone is having to look at the state of the world right now. And like, and that even in itself is hard to carry, to feel like you can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
So I just, like I said, everything's temporary.
That's
Be a
true.
good person, do good.
I just want to hone in on the thing you just said, because that's really good, and I'm gonna take so many things away from this. I feel like I should have been taking notes. Good gosh. But the not holding people to the version of themselves that they were when you're attaching whatever issue in the past that is not resolved or whatever, and because that's bondage. They're not in the bondage of it.
No,
I am.
Yeah. And it's like, and there are people that I knew in phases of my life that I'm like, if they're anything like me, they have died 10 times since that person. And I have to let it go and forgive them. Like you can't like, because humans, I mean, yesterday was different than today. Like, and you would hope to change for the better. But I think also being young, like you're going to do so many stupid things. And even as an adult, like my parents and like,
it's not just a young thing.
It's not a young thing. It is not just a
Even
young watching
thing.
My parents and like they're divorced and stuff. And like young me was like so angry. And now being older, I'm like, yo, you guys are human. Like, and sometimes people do, like things happen and people don't stay together, or somebody makes a dumb choice and you're like, you're just a human.
My parents all the time, who are 80, say they're like, we're just 22-year-olds with lots more wrinkles.
I feel that. I do. I started to, I was like, what are these things over here?
Girl.
It's wisdom.
Yes.
I swear it's wisdom. It's just so much to carry. So much to carry.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for everything.
Precious angel.
For being who you are, for sharing your healing, your struggle, all of it.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you for doing this.
Absolutely.
This is helping a lot of people.
Amen.
Amen, honey.
With that, I'm going to remind each and every one of you that it is never too late to start loving yourself, and you're only ever one decision away from a completely different life.
This podcast is brought to you by Promises Behavioral Health. If you or a loved one are struggling with trauma, addiction, or mental health, we are ready to answer your questions and help you take that next step. Call our admission center at 888-648-4098 or visit us online at www.promises.com. Our team is ready and waiting to answer the call for help.